Hi everyone, welcome back to another week on the Brush by Brandy YouTube channel. My name is Brandy and I'm the owner and artisan behind Brush by Brandy. This week we're going to be working on this vanity that's behind me. It's far from complete right now, but trust me, you're going to want to see where this one goes. This vanity is actually not solid wood, but I want to make you guys not afraid that you can tackle just about any piece of furniture with paint and you can turn it into something completely beautiful and glamorous that's far from where it started. So don't be afraid to start on any piece of furniture that you find out there that you love if it's got the right shape and the function. My customer brought this to me and she actually loved this because it has a flip up mirror on here. And so it's very functional. It's very utilitarian. It's going to work great in her space. We're actually making a set with this one with a lingerie chest. That's on a separate video that will have the same finishes, but we're going silver and glam and everything's going to be in the white and the gray family. So although it's not a lot of color, it's going to have a lot of interest because of the finishes that we're using. So there's even going to be some pops of red on this one, believe it or not. So I hope you guys will stick around and follow me on this furniture journey, and let's go ahead and get started. This next piece that I'm going to be working on here is entirely a laminate. And what laminate is it's a plasticky type overlay on top of a wood composite usually. And so what I'm going to look for when I'm determining that is I want to look for places where there's seams on my piece. So in this case, this is the back of the drawer box and I've got a seam right here. And I can look and see that it's got a sort of a plasticky overlay. I can even see on the edges where it kind of wants to curl up. And then I've got a composite material in here, which is you know, probably some sort of fiberboard, but it's not solid wood on the piece. Now that doesn't mean it's not durable, and it definitely doesn't mean it can't be painted. A couple other things about the construction I want to point out is these drawer boxes are held together with staples rather than a dovetailed drawer box, and then it has plastic drawer glides. So you can tell a lot by looking at the style of the construction, how well a piece was made, but I can definitely paint this. So what I want to do is I want to lay Dixie Belle Slick Stick on top of this piece. And Slick Stick is made for painting on non-porous surfaces, just like this laminate here. Has that sort of plasticky overlay. It doesn't have anything for me to bite onto with my paint. And then it can't be sanded, so I can't even scuff it because I will just tear up that plasticky overlay, and then I will be into that composite material underneath, which usually just tends to flake and swell. So that is going to be my base for this entire piece. I'm going to go ahead and coat this whole drawer box, and once I have Dixie Belle Slick Stick on this, it will be ready for me to lay my paint on. The side of this piece, I'm also going to use a textured finish, and I'm just going to take a natural bristle brush and I'm going to use a stippling motion to apply my paint. So I'm just dabbing the paint. I lay it on pretty heavily onto my brush, and then I'm just going to dab it on. And I'm doing this because I want to cover a little bit of this wood grain texture that's in here, and I also think it will be pretty with the silver leafing that I plan to put over top of this. So I'm just doing this right over the top of my Dixie Belle Slick Stick on this piece, and then I will come back and do 2 coats on this over the whole thing, and then I'm going to go ahead and blend in some silver paint into this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we'll come back for the next step on this one. Right, and now I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of Dixie Belle Hurricane Gray just on the legs of this piece. This is where I intend to use a dark silver paint, so I need to make sure that I have a base of a similar color. And so in this case, because I want to use the dark silver, I'm using Hurricane Gray because it's going to pick up the correct undertones and be the closest in color to the metallic that I plan on using. When I'm painting spindles like this, I like to use a horizontal brush stroke, and I just work my way around the leg, kind of hitting the tips of my bristles around just like that. All right. Once I laid my Hurricane Gray base onto all the areas that I wanted to have my dark silver metallic, it's time to come and go over top with the actual metallic itself. To get this metallic, I just took a little bit of Dixie Belle Silver Bullet and I tinted it with a few drops of caviar. When you're tinting metallics, you want to make sure you don't use too much paint because you can actually obscure the metallic qualities of the metallic paint with too much of the flat paint. So I just used a few drops. It created this dark gunmetal gray metallic. That's the perfect color I wanted. For the top of this vanity, I removed the drawer section, and now I'm just going to blend it into my white paint. So I applied my gunmetal gray metallic over the Hurricane Gray, and then I'm just blending it using a little bit of my fluff, which was my main body color. To blend the two together, I'm just using my Dixie Belle Best Dang brush. I use a swirling motion to pull those colors into each other, and then I come back and soften any areas that I want. Now I need to go repeat this process down the legs. So same thing, over the top of my Hurricane Gray, I'm going to apply my Gunmetal Gray Metallic, and then where the two colors meet up with the fluff, I'm going to go ahead and blend those two together. The Best Dang brush from Dixie Belle makes really easy work of working these two colors together, and this is on a leg. It's on a really small section, so I don't need to worry if the blend is absolutely perfect. So I just need to get those colors worked together. I just do a little bit of swirling, work my way around these legs, and I made quick work of getting these 4 legs done. It probably only took me, I don't know, 15-20 minutes to get all 4 legs done. This vanity is actually part of a 2-piece set. I'm also doing a matching lingerie chest. So while I'm working on this, I'm also doing the same finishes on the lingerie chest. That video will also be available on my YouTube channel. And these two are going to be done in matching finishes. These are a custom order actually for a good friend, and she showed me pictures of things in her room. Her bedding has shades of gray and black and white, and then of course pops of red. That's her favorite color. So we're going to bring that out in just a little bit. As I'm brushing this gunmetal gray color onto the legs, I left some of the brush strokes, and that's because it actually gives it kind of a brushed metal look versus trying to get it totally smooth. And I love the brush strokes, how it catches the light in the metallic paint. Once I've got my paint finish all complete, the next thing I want to do is come and wipe on a coat of clear coat. So I've just poured a little bit of Dixie Belle Gator Hide into a dish. I'm applying it using my blue Gator Hide sponge, also from Dixie Belle, and this is going to help my silver leafing that I'm going to apply not stick to my base of paint. And here's where I am after all of my paint is complete and I've got my clear coat wiped on. I'm ready for silver leaf. I'm going to go ahead and stencil the top of this vanity using gold leaf. So I'm using the Victorian Damask stencil from Dixie Belle. And I want to start off on the center of my desk. So I'm going to find the center point on this, and it's about the same length as my stencil is exactly. I'm using the flip up mirror on this as a guide, and I want to make sure my sides are nice and straight. And that it aligns at the top and the bottom. All right, once I have my stencil or my placement that I'm happy with, I'm just going to kind of lay it down. I had used some spray adhesive on the back side of this when I first started. I have not reapplied it, but I can keep using that a few times and not need to reapply it. And then I'm just going to spray this down with Scotch Super 77 spray adhesive over the top. One thing I'm going to go ahead and do is cover up the sides of my piece. And that's just because I don't want to get my spray adhesive. Just do one side at a time. I don't want to get my spray adhesive onto that because I am going to stencil those portions later. And I'm just going to spray over the top. A light mist of my spray adhesive, and then I'm going to flip this and come over and do this other side, cover it with my towel. And I'll just spray down this side. Just like that. All right, and then I can go ahead and remove my towel, and then I'm going to pick my stencil up. And what I have left is a stencil and spray adhesive. So then I'm going to go ahead and take my silver leafing. This is just imitation silver leafing. I purchased it on Amazon. It's very inexpensive. I know a lot of people have said to me before they have a hard time with the waste that comes out of this, but if you knew how inexpensive this was and that it is imitation, it makes that much easier to understand. So now I'm going to go ahead and just place my sheets. Now this is a very imperfect look, so I don't worry about getting them perfect. I want it to look nice and aged. You want to make sure you pick up your leafing using the backing sheet. Your hands will start to get sticky with spray adhesive. So use that backing sheet, and I'm just going to lay this all out in my silver leaf. right, once I have roughly the entire thing covered, because as I brush away the excess, it's going to start to cover any areas that I didn't have silver leafing in. I'm just using a chip brush that I've cut the tips off of. It's a little bit abrasive. I will come back, and where there's a line where my stencil cuts off, I'll replace my stencil again and do each side as well. Okay, once I brushed it away with my chip brush, I'm going to take a lightly abrasive rag. It's just kind of a rough cloth, and I'm just going to buff away any excess, and this just cleans it up even more, whatever the chip brush didn't get. Just reveals that design. I try to not brush away the excess leafing. This will be in my workspace for months to come. I'm going to use a vacuum instead. Brushing it away just makes it airborne. All right, and that is my silver leaf design on the top of my vanity. I'm going to go ahead and vacuum this up, and then I can go ahead and do my side placement. I'm going to go ahead and clean some of my stencils. I've been using this one for a while. It's pretty messed up and gummed up with spray adhesive. It really needs a cleaning really badly. So what I'm going to lay them on is, this is an oil pan just from the Auto Body store. And when I do this, I try to do a couple at a time because I really don't enjoy it. And it takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to take my oil pan and lay out my stencils. And then I'm going to take a little bit of mineral spirits. And I'm just going to pour it over the top. This is mineral spirits. I'm in California, and this is what we have available to us. We can't get everything here. And I'm just going to pour it over the top, and then I'm just going to take a chip brush, and I'm going to sort of work it over these. And this way it's saturating both sides of my stencils, because usually I end up with a little bit of the adhesive on both sides of the stencil. Make sure it's getting all of it. And I'm going to let these sit for a few minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead and do yet another one. And that's going to saturate the bottom. And then I'm just going to work it a little bit over this side too. All right, we'll let these sit for a few minutes and come back, and we're going to scrub the adhesive off all three of these stencils. All right, my stencils have sat for a couple minutes, and then I just came back and I did a test spot. And now I'm just going to come over with, this is just a nylon bristle brush. This will clean up when I'm done. And I'm going to gently brush over my stencil. I don't want to do any damage to it doing this. But And I'm just going to gently brush over it and it just pulls off. I can see these gummy layers of adhesive that are pulling off the stencil. So I'm going slowly, but just making sure that I don't damage my stencils. I move this one out of my way and let it keep soaking on this side while I work on this one. So you can see why I do multiples of these at a time. It's not fun. It's pretty gross. You should probably wear gloves with this. I'm not coming in contact with anything. It's just the nylon brush that's doing all the work. So I don't actually ever touch anything. And then from here, I will rinse these off. I have a gravel pit outside my house. I will just give it a light rinse, and then I'll just wipe it down with a paper towel. And that will take any oiliness off of this stencil that I still feel. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up cleaning these three stencils. Sadly, I still need to use this one here, so I'm gonna have to do this again, but it starts getting pretty gummed up and then it's not even functional. So I do let this go for a while because it's not fun. All right, I will come back and show you what these look like when they're all clean, and I'll keep going with my silver leafing. All right, so that got the majority of it, and then I'm just going to take a little bit of Dawn dish soap in that water that I just got in there, and I'm going to go over it with a sponge. And that's just going to take down the oily feeling that's on my stencil from the mineral spirits itself. So it's not going to be perfectly clean, but that's okay because, like I said, I intend to use this again still for the same piece. And I'm going to have to clean it again afterwards. But wait until you see it's going to be 10 times better once I spray this off. Oh my gosh, that was a doozy. Well, I'm glad it's over. I got my stencils all clean. Let's do something fun like apply some transfers. I hate showing that, but you guys always ask me how I clean my stencils. It's a pain in the rear, but I promise you I do have to do that every once in a while. I'd much rather apply some transfers. Okay, so for my drawer sides, you guys, I'm going to apply the lace transfer. And this is a lace transfer from Dixie Belle. I also hear you guys have a hard time applying this transfer sometimes. So I just wanted to show you how I do it. I find that if you rub over the top of it one time, rub over the top of the entirety, and then come back and start lifting the backing sheet as you rub over it again, and it actually releases really easy. It's a vanity, but the drawers on it are almost like a jewelry box. And so I'm able to do all of the drawer sides on this. So some of them have these glides on it where the drawer side glides in on a piece in the body. And I wanted to show you how I cut the transfer to fit inside these drawer sides that aren't perfectly flat. So I did place it over the top, and then I just used a razor knife to cut down the center. I sunk that piece down in that drawer glide. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to rub off each of the 3 sections that I cut it into. The colors in this lace transfer tie in perfectly with the silvers and the grays that are in my body. It's got a silver design on it in a damask pattern that's similar to the silver damask that I put all over the body. And so now when you open the drawers, they're going to have these little peekaboo sides. And then you can see here how the pattern lines up because I cut that pattern into the groove of the drawer side. I always use a little bit of black wax for shading on my pieces, and this one's no exception. So this has kind of an aged look, and I'm going to use the black wax to kind of age it even further. Just taking a little bit of Besting Wax in Black from Dixie Belle. I've got a little natural bristle artist brush, and I'm just going to hit some of the edges so that it looks a little bit worn. On here, this is actually a faux drawer front, so I'm going to darken in between the drawers so it looks like the shadow of a crevice where these drawers are separated. My final step on this is going to be a little bit of the red detailing. This is going to be a red paisley. I'm using the silkscreen stencils from Dixie Belle. I'm showing it here on the lingerie chest, but I did exactly the same process across the vanity. I just take and place my silkscreen stencil over the top of my pattern, and then I'm using a silicone spatula tool and scraping over the top of it with a little bit of rustic red from Dixie Belle. And this creates this layering effect of these patterns. And they're 2 different patterns, so they really stand out against each other. It's exactly the pop of red that these pieces needed. Once I was done with my silk screen over top, these pieces are done, you guys, and I came back and I sprayed these in 2 coats of Dixie Gator Hide clear coat. And that's just to seal in everything so it's all protected under a clear coat. You guys can find links for everything I used in this video in the description for this post below. I hope you like this video. You can click that subscribe button. And as always, you can find more Brush by Brandy on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube, and on my website at brushbybrandy.com.